Hello, everybody. I'm Dane Campbell. I want to welcome you back to Change with Dane. I'm recording this on the 4th of September, and I just want to say thank you for coming back and taking a look at my ideas on how you can change small thoughts and small behaviors to gain greater peace and success and happiness that you are seeking for in life. So the last couple of weeks, I changed our discussion from specifically looking at how you can change thoughts to how we are going to start to look at how to change behaviors. And oddly enough, last week specifically, we kind of had a discussion about the intersection between how some of our thoughts might be a barrier to looking at and discovering and trying the change of behaviors. Because sometimes we've told ourselves, maybe in the past, that we can't change our behaviors, or it's too difficult, or I've failed and I don't want to do that again. And so the idea was, and I hope you had some success with this, being able to kind of look at your thoughts about behavior change and decide if there are things that you can tell yourself that are different that might be able to break down or reduce the barrier of the thoughts getting in the way of behavior change. So since we've done that already, I wanted to turn back to behaviors itself. And I have talked about several times keeping our focus small and keeping our efforts to something that is doable so that we can see success. And I know that this is difficult for some people to even conceive that a very small thing can lead to a very big change. But I want you to know how important it is that a very small adjustment in what we are doing can oftentimes have very, very big impacts on our life and how we think and feel about our life. So let's say that a person would want to look at their health, maybe how much or how little they weigh, and they want to change that in themselves. So I'm just going to use this as an example of a behavior or a way that you can set up this process for yourself with a very specific behavior. Now, some people get on the scale and they see that, it would benefit them to lose 20, 40, 60 pounds. There might be a knee-jerk reaction to say, okay, I'm going to exercise every single day and I'm only going to eat things that are healthy for me. I'm only going to eat low-fat protein and all the vegetables, and I'm going to cut out all of the bad stuff. And they start on day one, and maybe they get 3 days, 7 days, 10 days down the road. It's going to become very, very difficult to maintain all of those different things all at once. The problem is you're trying to stop habits that you have developed over time that maybe are not so healthy for you. And you're also trying to implement new habits that can sometimes be a bit punishing if you don't implement them in a way that is a little bit more systematic and a little smaller. The problem with stating, I'm going to just exercise every single day from here on out the rest of my life, is getting started. And the realities of life, if you don't have a lot of time and a lot of resources and a lot of barriers out of the way, that's going to be very difficult to maintain. Some people start out very hard and fast, and immediately their body gets sore. They might find that they hadn't thought about how they're going to fit that into their daily activity if it's something that they haven't been doing every single day. They may just get tired, and they might just need to give their body a rest periodically. And if your goal is to do that every single day, and if you don't, you're a failure, then from the very beginning point of that process, you're setting yourself up for less success than maybe you could if you started out a little smaller. I know for myself, when it comes to eating, I have a very difficult time in completely cutting out things that I enjoy. So I have a sweet tooth. So for me to say I'm never going to eat anything sweet or delicious or gooey or sugary, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to have to figure out a way to have a little bit of that in my life and maybe less of all of that stuff, and be able to, not deny myself of a thing that I actually love very much and enjoy. And so I have to think about ways that I can reasonably set a goal to change a behavior that will be beneficial to me in the long run, that maybe I haven't thought about doing that, in such a systematic way in the past. Now, it's good if you want to be more healthy to exercise more. So be more active. It's good to look at what you're eating and putting into your body, and doing more healthy stuff than bad stuff. But would you do both of those things at the same time? I would say maybe, if you can find small changes in each of those realms that you're able to sustain. It's okay though, if your overall goal is to be more healthy, it's okay to tackle one of those things at a time. And as you get better with the small thing in one of those areas, to add additional behavior changes so that your mind can adjust to creating the new habits, and you can get used to doing things in a new way. One of the things I explain to people that I have worked with in the past is that the very, very best change, even if it's small, is going to be difficult because you're used to doing things in a certain way. You're used to thinking about things in a certain way. You're used to acting in a certain way. And your own little system kind of fights that change because your mind, your body, your soul is kind of used to doing things the way you're used to doing things. So just know that you've got a few barriers that are going to be facing you. And that doesn't mean you can't overcome them. It just means that you've thought about them, and maybe you've thought about specific things that you can do to get over, go around, blow past the barrier of the change that you're trying to make. So today I thought, let's talk about just if your goal was to be more healthy, what's a behavior that you can implement today that could get you closer to that goal? If you already have exercise in your life in any way, shape, or form, good on you. But let's say that you don't. Let's say that you have not been exercising your body regularly for quite some time. What I would do in this situation is I would look at what you think is reasonable for you to start building a new behavior. So if you don't do anything at this point, is maybe 1 day a week is a good place to start. Maybe you can just, go for a walk on Sunday afternoon, but you do that consistently every Sunday. And if that seems like it's too small of a thing, maybe you say 2 days a week. So midweek on Wednesday, you do something that is more physical, and then 1 day on the weekend. And again, pick something that is doable for you. Maybe it's 5 push-ups that you determine you're going to do 2 times a week. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk. Maybe it is going to the gym and lifting weights. But the thing is to get started and to pick that one small behavior that you're going to change, and then set that up and be intentional about it. Write down your goals somewhere so that you see that on a daily basis, and you can prepare yourself and prepare your mind for that thing that you're going to do. And some might be saying, as you're listening to this, going for a 10-minute walk 2 days a week ain't much. But for somebody who has not been doing that and has not had physical activity as a part of their life, that's a big thing. And so don't cut yourself off at the knees just because it doesn't seem like you're going to be ready to run a marathon next week. That's not what this is about. This is about looking at the small things that you can make a habit in your life that can bring you greater peace, can bring you greater success, can bring you greater happiness. And we could talk about, 1,000 reasons why having more physical activity in your life is beneficial. Most changes, you could write up many, many reasons why it would be beneficial to make that change. Next time, I want to talk about specific barriers with this idea of increasing more exercise in your life, so that we've looked at the way you're thinking about things, right? I'm not good at exercise. I've never been good at consistently doing workouts. I have been unhealthy for so long, I don't think it's possible to regain my health. Maybe those are the things you're telling yourself. We've talked about how to address some of those thoughts so that they're not a barrier. But there's other barriers or things that can get in the way of making these small changes. And so on next week's video, I will address what some of those barriers are and how you can start to, with any behavior there is that you would like to change, how you can start to seek out and look at what those barriers are and then plan for them so that you have a greater likelihood of not letting those things stop you in your efforts to change. So, to recap, when you look at the behaviors, keep them small. Remember that you're learning a new habit by repetition, and look at the thoughts that might be holding you back from making this behavior change, and start to address those and challenge those if they're negative things. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll come back and continue on this journey with me at learning how to make changes in your life that can bring you greater peace and success. Take care.